So today we're going to be making one of my all-time favorite recipes on the website, my vegan naan. Now it's super easy to make, it's soft, it's fluffy, it's chewy, it melts, it literally melts in your mouth. So I'm really excited to share this one with you today. Now when I first started experimenting with this recipe and I did many different variations to try and perfect it, I realized that you actually use yeast. And I haven't used yeast before, so it was the first time for me and I felt a little bit nervous. So if you are like me and haven't used yeast before in the kitchen, it's pretty difficult to stuff up, so don't worry. These naans actually work really well even as a wrap, so you can put some fillings inside and eat them like that. I perfectly love them with a curry and some rice on the side, or you can just have them on their own as a snack. Now let's get started. So to start off with, we're going to activate the yeast first. So we need some warm water, some sugar. I'm using coconut sugar today, but you can use any granulated sugar, and some activated dry yeast. So that's really important for getting the naans nice and fluffy. So to start with, we have half a cup of warm water. Then we add 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar. And then we have 1.5 teaspoons of dry activated yeast. We give that a quick little stir until the sugar dissolves. You can really smell the yeast. Now we're just going to let that sit for 10 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to get the flour ready. So we'll add 3 cups of flour. We then add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Give it a stir with a wooden spoon until it's all well combined, and make a well in the middle. Now I forgot to mention that I used just an all-purpose flour. Now this is what the yeast should look like once it's ready to go. So now we're just going to add the wet to the dry ingredients. Add 1 cup of plain unsweetened yogurt. So I use coconut, but you can use soy as well. And 3 tablespoons of melted coconut oil. Now just give it a really good stir until it's all well combined. Now when you get to this consistency here, I just get my hands in there. So I just take out the spoon and get my hands in there just to really incorporate it nice and well. Kneading along the way. So once everything has come together, what we're going to do next is flour the bench and knead it for about a minute more. We'll just sprinkle a little bit of flour on our working surface. And just knead it for about a minute. Just to work the gluten in the dough. Now just turn it into a little ball, pat it down, and just put a little bit of oil on the ball of dough. So pat it around. I've used olive oil, just so that when it's resting, the outside of it doesn't dry out. You don't want like a crust on it. So we just put a little bit of oil on it and a little bit on the inside of the bowl as well. And there we go. So we're just going to cover now this with a tea towel and pop it in a warm spot in the house. I typically do that right next to the window. Now we let this sit for 2 hours until it's doubled in size. So it's been a couple of hours and this is what the dough will look like. So it's about doubled in size. To deflate it, we're just going to punch it down just to get all of the air out. See how it kind of, it's nice and mushy now. I call it mushy. And so we'll just flour our working surface. And bring it out. It'll be a little bit, it'll feel a little bit wet, damp on your hands because it's been resting and it also has that little bit of olive oil on it as well. So you're only going to knead it for about 30 seconds, no more than that, just to give it a bit more structure again. So once you've done that, we're going to cut it into 8 equal portions. So we'll just cut it down the middle. And then I like to try and get it even, but if you can't, that's all right. There we go. So we're just going to create 8 balls. Now we don't want to overwork the dough here, so you do it for about 15 seconds each, and you just turn them like this into little balls. So we'll just do all of them and try and avoid putting too much flour on the surface because you don't want them to have too much flour on them. I sometimes pick them up because it's quicker to do that. And they don't have to be perfectly shaped. I'm not too fussed with how they're done. A little bit more flour. So the sides that you've cut will be a little bit more sticky than the outside. And if you notice that it's a bit big and you think you can probably make a few more, just put some aside as you're making them. See, this one's quite big as well. You can probably end up with about 9 in this mix. A little bit more. There we go. So we ended up with 9 balls. So we'll just have them there and just let them put a tea towel over them again and let them sit for another 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes, they will have risen just a little bit more. If you are really pressed for time, you can actually skip this step, but it just creates a little bit more of a fluffier naan. Now, this is the point where you can actually also freeze them if you're not ready to eat them or if you want to prepare them ahead of time. So what you can do is pop them in the freezer individually and then take them out overnight and thaw them in the fridge, or you can leave them out on your bench and thaw them out for a couple of hours that way, and then continue on with the rest of this process that I'm about to show you. So we get our pan ready on a medium-high heat, and then once we're ready to roll out the naans, we sprinkle a little bit of flour. I actually like to put a little bit of flour also on my rolling pin. We grab the dough and we just start rolling it out. Now it might stick, that's okay. We just turn it over and keep rolling. Now it's really up to you how big you want them, but I'll show you in a second. This is the thickness, approximate thickness that you'd want them. So this one's ready to go in. So we'll just check if our pan is hot enough. So then we've got a little bit of water here in this dish. So what I do is I just brush gently like you would oil, but we're using water instead so that it doesn't stick. Now try and use a cast iron pan here, it works the best. But if you don't have one, just use a pan that can go on high heat. Now that side that I've just put the water on, we put that face down on the pan and we put the lid on. Now we use a lid because that actually helps the naan to rise and create the bubbles that will give us that nice, soft, fluffy, chewy texture. So while we have this one going, it'll take about a minute to rise. I actually get the next one ready so that we're not leaving a hot, empty pan later on. So you just follow the same process. You roll out the naan, nice and even. It doesn't have to be perfect. The shape doesn't bother me at all. Then we just leave that there and have it ready for when this one's finished. And I won't put water on it until I'm ready to put it onto the fry pan. So this should be ready to flip now. You can see how the bubbles have come up. I'll just get that and give it a nice flip. And we'll cook that for another minute or two. At the beginning, like normally when you make pancakes or crepes, it's the same thing. Typically the first one's not your best one, but as the pan keeps heating up, they will get faster and faster. So after a couple of minutes, it should be nice and brown on the other side. And then I just create like a little dish with a tea towel inside, where I will brush some olive oil. And this is where you can also add, if you want, some crushed garlic. You can add any herbs, coriander, parsley, anything that you like. And then I just fold it over just to keep them nice and warm. And then I get back to the pan. So this is where it's really helpful to have one ready to go. You just brush it with water. As much as you can, and pop it on. You'll hear that sizzle, and put the lid on. It's really important to trap the heat in there and so that it rises properly. And then we go on to the next one, and you just keep repeating that process until all of the naans are finished. So here are the little beauties that you come up with when you finish. So we ended up making about 9 of these, and they're just the smell of them and the way that they tear. I honestly could eat this all day, every day. They literally melt in your mouth when you eat them, and they go so fast in our household. As I said before, you can freeze them, but we never do because we just love it so much. So you'll find the full recipe to this amazing vegan naan over on our website at theminimalistvegan.com. We'll link to it in the description below for you. I hope that you love this video and happy cooking. Today we're gonna be Stop it. So good.
You couldn't help yourself, could you?
I'm almost choking because I'm trying to swallow too fast. This is so good.